Chapter 11. The Ring Part 1. Lin Zeyuan rarely missed his weekly visit home, but this time 3 full weeks had passed. As he stepped into the familiar entry hall of the Lin residence, the shift reached him before words did. From the sitting room drifted a faint swirl of pale blue worry, his mother's emotions, lingering and restless. Mei Lin sat upright on the sofa, hands folded too tightly in her lap. Near the window, his father, Lin Zeyuan, read quietly, the warm amber of his calm unusually steady, as if deliberately grounding the room. Mei Lin looked up the moment she heard footsteps. "Zeyuan," she said, gentle but unmistakably reproachful. "Why haven't you visited? 3 weeks. You never do that." Before he could answer, Zeyuan closed his book. "He must have been busy," he said evenly. "Don't jump to conclusions." Mei Lin paused, then sighed, nodding. Yes, maybe you're right." But her gaze didn't settle. A darker shade rose around her, violet anxiety edged with sorrow. She clasped her hands together, as if bracing herself. "Zeyuan," she said slowly, "after that terrible accident last month, I can't stop thinking about it." He remained still. "I only saw Chen Lian once," Mei Lin continued, "at the funeral. She stood there the whole time. Quiet, pale, barely speaking. Her voice softened. After that, she disappeared." She looked up at him more intently now. "No one's heard from her since that day. She didn't return home. She didn't come back to work. People say she's missing." Then, as if something finally connected, Mei Lin frowned slightly. Her eyes searched his face. "Do you have any idea where Chen Lian might be?" she asked quietly. "She lost her entire family in one day. I keep worrying something might have happened to her as well." The colors around her deepened, heavy blues of concern, threaded with helpless pink. For a brief moment, Zeyuan hesitated. Then he exhaled. "Mother," he said gently, "I know where she is." Both Mei Lin and Zeyuan looked up at once. Surprise flared, bright yellows and uncertain greens, rippling through the room. Zeyuan spoke first. "What do you mean?" Zeyuan met their eyes steadily. "She's living with me, at the villa." Silence fell. Mei Lin's breath caught. Zeyuan straightened, his voice calm, measured, honest in the way only he could manage. "We're married." The room erupted in color, gold disbelief, rose-pink shock, muted gray concern weaving through it all. Before either of them could speak, he continued. "It was the same day as the accident," he said. "We registered that morning. She didn't know what was coming. Afterward, she had no one. She was grieving, emotionally unstable. I tried to help her recover. She needed structure, stability." His parents exchanged a long, silent look. Mei Lin's expression softened first. "When did you say you married?" she asked quietly. "That day," he repeated. "The day everything happened." Instead of joy, sorrow settled into her eyes, yet beneath it, a restrained warmth emerged. "That poor child," Mei Lin whispered. "No parents, no brother, and here I was complaining about you not visiting." She shook her head. "Bring her to me, Zeyuan. I want to meet her. I want her to know she still has family." Zeyuan nodded in agreement. "Your mother is right." Zeyuan hesitated. "She wasn't ready before, but she's improving, slowly. I think she can meet you now." Mei Lin immediately waved her hand. "No pressure. I don't want to overwhelm her. I can go to her instead." "It might help if she comes here," Zeyuan said gently. "A change of environment, and she should meet you properly." Mei Lin considered this, then nodded. "All right, bring her. Just make sure she's comfortable." The colors in the room finally settled. Soft blues, gentle golds, quiet acceptance. Zeyuan exhaled, tension easing from his chest. After several days of steady recovery and quiet routines at the villa, Chen Lian finally returned to the History Museum. She stepped through the wide glass doors, the familiar scent of wood polish and aging archives settling over her like a forgotten blanket. The space looked the same, polished floors, orderly displays, muted lighting, yet something fundamental had shifted. The museum hadn't changed, she had. As she crossed the main gallery hallway, she noticed Miss Qiao at the reception desk. The woman, usually sharp-tongued, brisk, and forever correcting interns, sat unusually still. No raised voice, no impatient tapping of heels, just silent paperwork, her posture rigid. When Miss Kiao lifted her gaze and saw Chen Lian, her expression froze for half a second. Then she looked away, deliberately, as if she hadn't seen her at all. Chen Lian blinked, surprised. That's new. Before she could decide whether to approach, a familiar voice burst from behind her. Lian! She turned sharply. Mei Su stood there, slightly out of breath, eyes wide with relief and worry. Where did you disappear to? Mei Su rushed forward, words spilling out. I called you, I messaged you. After the funeral you didn't come back. You didn't tell anyone where you went. Lian, what happened? The concern in her voice struck Chen Lian harder than she expected. It was warm, unguarded, familiar, like being pulled into the safety of a sibling's embrace. Mei Su stepped closer and gently took her hand. I'm sorry, she said quickly, then slowed herself. I'm talking too much. I was just really worried. What you went through was awful. If you need more time, take it. The museum only just reopened after the renovations anyway. She hesitated, then lowered her voice. And about Manager Chen, the memorial hasn't been held yet. They're planning it properly, after everything settles. Everyone wanted it done right. He was deeply respected here. At those words, something tightened painfully in Chen Lian's chest. Her vision blurred before she could stop it. Mei Su noticed immediately and fell silent. She squeezed Chen Lian's hand instead, firm, steady, saying everything without words. After a moment, Chen Lian drew in a slow breath, grounding herself, easing the tremor in her chest. I'm here to work, Mei Su, she said quietly, but with resolve. Mei Shui studied her for a second, then smiled, bright and relieved. All right, she said, if you say so. She nudged Chen Lian's shoulder lightly, then come on. We've got a mountain of work today. A new piece arrived, beautiful, but it needs serious restoration. She lowered her voice again, and if it gets too much, say the word. I'll cover for you. Chen Lian nodded. She wasn't fully fine, but she was standing. She was trying. And somehow the ache inside her wasn't suffocating anymore, because someone was helping her carry it, even if she hadn't realized it yet. As they walked deeper into the gallery, Mei Shui launched into an animated explanation about the new artifact, then abruptly stopped mid-sentence. Her gaze locked onto Chen Lian's left hand, more specifically, the ring. Mei Shui's eyes widened so dramatically that Chen Lian almost flinched. Lian, she whispered, is that what I think it is? Mei Shui grabbed Chen Lian's wrist before she could even react. Lian, she hissed under her breath, eyes wide, disbelief flashing across her face. Is that, are you married? Her voice wavered between shock and excitement, rising just enough to earn them a few curious glances from nearby staff. Chen Lian stiffened. For a moment, her mind went blank, not because she didn't have an answer, but because she didn't yet know how to explain something she herself hadn't fully understood. Mei Shui's shock only deepened when Chen Lian stayed silent. Oh my God, she breathed. You really did. Lian, when? How? Chen Lian gently pulled her hand back, her movements calm but edged with exhaustion. It was recent, she said quietly. Recent? Mei Shui repeated in disbelief. You disappeared for a month and came back married. That is not what recent means. Mei Shui, Chen Lian whispered, glancing around. Please, not so loud. That shut her up at least for a second. Mei Shui leaned closer, lowering her voice instinctively. Who is he? The question hung between them, heavier than it should have been. Chen Lian opened her mouth, then closed it again. She wasn't ready to explain the circumstances, the timing, the grief, the way one quiet presence had slowly become something she leaned on without realizing when it had happened. So she chose the only truth that felt safe to share. He's someone who helped me through everything. Mei Shui's expression softened immediately. The shock faded, replaced by something warm and protective. Oh, Lian, she murmured. After losing so much, I'm glad someone was there for you. Chen Lian looked away. She didn't want to admit that she had mistaken safety for simplicity, or that his steadiness had settled around her so naturally She hadn't questioned it. Mei Sui squeezed her arm gently. Is he good to you? For the first time that day, Chen Lian's gaze softened. She nodded. Yes, he is. More than he needs to be. Something in her voice made Mei Sui pause. Lian, she said carefully, you don't sound happy. Chen Lian hesitated, then forced a small, tired smile. I'm just figuring things out. Mei Sui didn't press further. She knew when to stop. Instead, she looped her arm through Chen Lian's and gently tugged her toward the restoration wing. Well, she said lightly, whatever this marriage is, just remember you're not alone. I'm still here. Emotion welled in Chen Lian's chest. Thank you, she whispered. As they walked, Mei Sui let out an exaggerated sigh, trying to ease the heaviness. But you are introducing him to me. I need to see the man who managed to marry Chen Lian. Chen Lian's heart tightened because she didn't yet know how to explain a marriage that felt like shelter rather than a love story. Not yet. Later that night, after Lin Zeyuan had retreated to his own room, Chen Lian stood quietly before the mirror. The ring on her finger caught the soft golden light of the lamp, its reflection trembling faintly against the wall. It was real. She lifted her hand, fingertips brushing the band as if it were something fragile, something precious she hadn't yet learned how to hold. For the first time since the accident, the ache in her chest shifted. Not disappearing, not healing, but loosening. No longer the sharp sting of grief, but something gentler, warmer, something dangerously close to hope. A warmth she wasn't sure she was allowed to feel. Her gaze met her own reflection, eyes tired, hollowed by loss, yet carrying a question she wasn't ready to answer. Even if it's only for show, she whispered, her voice barely sounding. I'll wear it like it's real. Because for now, the illusion was easier to carry than the emptiness she had been running from. Outside, rain brushed against the windows in slow, steady rhythms, soft, unbroken, like a heartbeat neither she nor Lin Zeyuan could hear, yet somehow shared. Lin Zeyuan sat at the edge of his bed, the soft hum of the villa settling around him. The day had ended in routine, quiet, uneventful, but the weight of Chen Lian's presence lingered like a tangible warmth in the room. He reached for his notebook, thinking he would jot down a reminder, something simple. Mention parents' visit tomorrow. He paused, realizing he had nearly forgotten. Somehow between the museum work, the quiet recovery, and the lingering exhaustion of recent weeks, it had slipped from his mind entirely. Glancing at the clock, his eyes met the digital numbers glowing faintly in the dark. 12:58 a.m. Almost 1. He exhaled softly. Chen Lian would likely have fallen asleep by now. Her breathing, even in the quiet hours, would need peace, not his reminders or plans. He closed his notebook carefully, setting it aside. The thought of disturbing her seemed unnecessary. Better to wait. Tomorrow would be better. Lin Zeyuan leaned back against the headboard, hands folded across his lap. The room was still, the villa silent. He allowed himself the rare moment of observation, of presence, without action. For now, he would let her rest, let her sleep, let the night hold its quiet, protective rhythm until morning. The next morning, sunlight drifted through the villa's wide windows, settling over the quiet living room, where Chen Lian and Lin Zeyuan sat across from each other. She had expected another silent breakfast, his usual preference, but instead, he spoke. Not much, just small, ordinary things. A comment about the weather, a brief mention of a case report, a reminder about groceries. But from him, even that was surprising. Chen Lian listened quietly, unsure if this was his version of comfort or habit. He never talked without purpose, never filled space to fill it. Yet today, he did. Then he reached into his pocket. She watched confused, as he pulled out a small velvet box, one she hadn't known he carried. He opened it, took out a ring identical to hers, and slipped it onto his own finger with calm precision. Her breath hitched. He didn't notice. "There's one thing I need to tell you," he said, tone level as always. "We should visit our parents." Chen Lian blinked. our parents. The words landed strangely in her chest, warm for half a second, cold the next. She didn't let herself think too much about it. Yes, she said. I'm free tomorrow. Lin Zeyuan nodded. Then his gaze lowered to her hand. The ring was still there. So, you're wearing it consistently. Good. His voice was matter-of-fact, almost clinical. In case someone visits. If we don't have the rings on, it'll cause unnecessary doubts. Let's keep them on for a while. He stood, already turning toward the hallway. I'll prepare the schedule, he added before leaving for his room. Chen Lian remained seated, staring at the space he left behind. In case. Unnecessary doubts. For a while. The words felt strangely heavy, hollowing something inside her she didn't even know had filled up. She pressed her thumb against the ring, warm now from her skin, and wondered why those few casual sentences stung more than she expected. She didn't ask him to stay. She didn't know what she would say if she did. But the silence that followed felt drier, emptier than anything she had felt since moving into the villa. The car moved steadily through the late morning traffic, but for once, Chen Lian wasn't hearing Lin Zeyuan's usual quiet huffs of irritation at congestion around him. Instead, she glanced up from the window and realized he wasn't the one driving. A driver sat in the front seat, in a professional posture, with calm eyes. It was a small detail, almost too small to notice, yet coming from Zeyuan, it meant something significant. He caught her look. What? He asked lightly. You're not driving today? He let out a breath, leaning back against the seat. Dr. Han Yao insisted I take it easy. He said it isn't necessary to juggle traffic, color chaos, and everything else at the same time. He didn't say it aloud, just thought it, almost embarrassed by the concession. A driver should have occurred to me earlier, but fine, it's fine now. Chen Lian only saw him relax slightly. The driver glanced at him once through the rearview mirror, offering a polite, warm smile. Zeyuan added quietly, he's competent, reliable, so I can focus on other things without worrying. The subtle relief in his voice softened something in Chen Lian's chest. Perhaps this visit was already shifting more than they expected. A few minutes passed before he spoke again. Lian, he said, shifting slightly toward her, we need a story, in case my parents ask how we met. She turned to him fully, waiting. We'll say we met at the Jingsheng Historical Museum. She blinked. Her museum. For a second, it sounded absurd, almost laughable. He had never once visited her workplace, not even by accident. If anything, the lie was too neat, too convenient, but what could she do? There wasn't any non-chaotic, socially acceptable story to offer. So, she exhaled slowly and nodded. All right, the museum is. He gave a small, relieved nod in return. As the car moved closer to his parents' home, neither spoke again, but both felt the weight of what awaited them, unspoken, yet undeniable.